Hey guys, how we doing today? So, I thought we'd go back to 1984 and talk about the original Optimus Prime. That's a lie. This is like the Hasbro 2019 re-release, Walmart exclusive. That didn't come with the trailer, but it's G1 Optimus Prime. So, he's, G1 1980s. He's very, very small and quite simple. So, this should be a quick review. So, he rolls. This one didn't come with a trailer, which is unfortunate, but I have so many Optimus Prime trailers, I don't need another one. I mean, to transform this guy is very, very simple. If you don't know how to transform G1 Optimus by now, you probably don't collect action figures. But these fold down. Those fold up. Those are his feet. These open up and fold forward. Those are his arms. Open his chest up. And that's where you should store the hands, because it's a G1 toy, so there are parts forming. There is parts forming. And then flip this back piece up and you have his head. There you go. G1 Optimus Prime. Very, very classic figure. Arms actually do a full 360. Outwards. He has an elbow. He has a knee, surprisingly. I mean, you can't really pose him. But the fact that there's any movement at all is kind of cool. He has his 2 ion blasters. And that's it. That's really all you can do with this Hasbro reissue of G1 Optimus Prime. So that would be it for this review if this was the figure I was actually reviewing. But it's not. So let me just quickly get him back into his vehicle mode. And we'll go ahead and talk about what I'm actually reviewing today. This is just, yeah. So, I'm going to start what is going to be my longest series of reviews today, which is going to be of the Transformers Masterpiece line. And now, I know it says 20th anniversary, but this was the American re-release of Transformers Masterpiece MP-1 Optimus Prime, or Convoy in Japan. I don't have the Japanese version, I have the American re-release that came out a year later. But this was the first figure in the Masterpiece line, and so I figured I'd start my favorite toy line review, my reviews of my favorite toy line of all time, Transformers Masterpiece, with the first figure released in the line. So this was the American box. The Japanese box is different. I don't have it because I have this version. And this version is actually modeled, the box model, after the trailer, which is kind of cool because it doesn't come with one. Box shows you all of it. Comes with the Matrix. You can hold the Matrix. You can light up the Matrix. Mine can't. I'll explain that in a second. He's got communications. On the back, you've got Optimus Prime. Freedom is right, his bio if you want to read it. I'll leave it right there for a second if you want to read it. Pause it right here. There you go. And then he's got Megatron pistol, which we'll talk about. His ion blaster, his axe, and there's suspension in his wheels. That's the box. It looks pretty cool, but I prefer like closed boxes over window boxes. That's just me. Well, let's go ahead and talk about MP-1. He is a big old truck. So the difference between the Takara and the Hasbro version are that at the time Hasbro was really like stingy with the smokestacks, so they shortened the smokestacks on every Optimus Prime figure released. They don't do that anymore, but for some reason it was a safety issue back then, so they shortened the smokestacks. And he's got like burned battle damage marks all over him. The Takara version doesn't have that. Other than that, there is no difference between the two whatsoever. Except the Takara version is a lot more expensive. He comes with 3 accessories. With his ion blaster, which looks really good. Comes with the axe. And he comes with Megatron in his gun mode. I don't know why, but he comes with Megatron. I know he held him in the cartoon, but I feel like this would make more sense with like Starscream or Soundwave. There you go. He is huge and he is heavy. Here he is compared to the original. The size difference is insane. It's even worse in robot mode, the massive size difference, but we'll talk about that momentarily. He rolls really well. Now, the Takara Masterpiece line started in 2003, and it went really slowly at first. The first 4 releases of the Masterpiece line, 3 of them were this mold. First one was Optimus Prime. Second was Ultra Magnus, which was just a white repaint of this. The third one was Starscream. And the fourth one was this figure re-released with a trailer. And I'm going to say right off the bat, of the first 9 Masterpiece releases, this is the best mold. Until MP-10, where the line finally got its momentum going, this was the granddaddy, the one. Grimlock wasn't bad, but Megatron and the Starscream mold, we'll talk about the Megatron mold next time I do a Masterpiece video. But we're talking about Optimus Prime today, who actually still holds up pretty well, like as a standalone figure. As a Masterpiece Prime, you've got better options, but we'll talk about that. Transforming him isn't the easiest thing in the world, but we're going to do our best. So, on camera, this is going to be fun. So we're going to go ahead and pull these out. When you transform him back, though, you got to push those back up to unlock it. I'm going to go ahead and separate the legs, fold the trailer hitch in, pull this part up, and then fold all that around, push his ankle, or his heel, down. There you go. Now, up until the third release, Optimus Prime Masterpiece line, the legs transformation is not super involved. So there's that. Almost an action happens up top. Fold those pieces out. You're going to want to push these back, pull them out and forward, and those form the arms. Now, you're supposed to just be able to grip that, but I can't. My fingers are too big, so I always got to get something to pry them out. I know I'm using a box cutter. It's kind of dangerous, but whatever. So there are his hands. Out of the way for a second. Let's go ahead and open that up. There's a seat in there. Actually, push that down. Open. There's a panel back there. Push this down. Get the head up and then pull his antenna up. Fold that back piece down. Take this piece, push it up, turn that around, fold these down. All right, there we go. Then you're gonna wanna straighten all that out, push that down. There's the matrix, which I'll show you right now. It's supposed to light up right here. Mine was sitting in a box. It was completely unopened for about 16 years. I went to change the batteries last night for this review. They're burnt out, like there's battery acid damage in there, so I can't actually get the light to work. Sorry about that. So these turn around and they clip up there. And now you're going to want to just put that piece down, push this piece up, waist up, and now we're going to need to mess with the camera here. Turn his waist around, straighten his leg out, close everything up. Those will become the back. And then just go ahead and straighten the arms out. Let's see if we can get a better angle on him. Here we've got Masterpiece Optimus Prime. And I gotta say, for an original Takara masterpiece, he still looks pretty good to this day. He's not the best figure in the world, but, you know, if you compare him to the original, he's huge. He's a really big figure. Like, compare, and then here's SH Figure Arts Bowser. Yeah. He's a big guy. My previous review, when I did Voltron, he's taller than Voltron, and Voltron was a big dude. So he is a really, really big toy. And that's part of his problem. When the Masterpiece line first started, he was the first one, so there was no scale, really. When Starscream came out, he's about the same size as just a standard leader class Transformer. Yeah, Prime's supposed to be bigger than Starscream, but not that much bigger. Megatron came out, and him and Optimus were about the same size, so I was like, okay, so they're going to do the thing, they're trying to make the leaders more powerful, cool. Grimlock is tiny compared to him. Rodimus Prime, tiny compared to him. Grimlock's supposed to be bigger than Optimus, and Rodimus should be about the same size. There's no scale, really. No, I don't have the original Masterpiece Rodimus Prime. It's like the only mold I'm missing. But there's no scale here, so when the line got like rebooted in MP-10, which was the second version of Optimus Prime, they completely fixed the scale, and there's basically no scaling issues. But back to MP-1, he's got gizmos all over the place, or, you know, so you can open this chest up. The Matrix does pop out, but I got really fat fingers. I'm not like the biggest guy in the world either, but I got really big fingers, so it's hard for me to get it out. But it does open. It's supposed to light up, but again, mine doesn't. His mouthpiece, I'll go ahead and show you. He's the only Masterpiece Prime that can do this. There's a button on the back of his head, and his mouth plate actually moves, which is what he did in the original cartoon. So that's actually really cool. I actually really like that feature. I kind of wish they'd bring it back, but they haven't. His articulation's really good, though. His head, complete 360. It's on a ball joint, so it can go all over the place. His arms, full 360. You can pull it out to get a ratchet. Elbow, bicep. All of his fingers are individually articulated. And his thumb is on a ball joint. His wrist completely rotates, and his hand can bend in a little bit. His waist, complete 360, which is partly due to the transformation and partly due to the articulation. His legs are really good. Forward, but they are really heavy because his bottom piece is die-cast metal. His whole leg is die-cast metal, so it's heavy. Goes all the way back. Can go all the way out. Can turn right there. Double knee joint, but again, really heavy legs. And he's got pretty good foot, and his toe can bend. So you can get some good poses out of him. The problem is he's just heavy. This might just be mine, but his ankles are kind of loose. But I don't know if that's because these are metal and these are plastic. He hasn't fallen on me, but you know, I just got this figure off of eBay maybe a week ago. Because it's a bit of a story. Oh, one other thing before my story. He actually has wrist communicators. So on that side, he has Bumblebee. On that side, he has Starscream. On the MP-4 version, he has Grimlock and Megatron. So there you go. I guess hint at upcoming Masterpiece releases, except Bumblebee didn't come out till way later. There were several re-releases of this mold. When I first saw the pictures of this in 2004, I was like, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. I didn't get it till like 2008 with the DVD edition, which came with like a weird stand. The Ion Blaster was a weird color. He was more of an orangey color. I mean, I was like, cool, I want it, so I got it. And I had it for 2 years. And then, around the time I graduated high school, 2010, my friend was over, and he didn't mean to do this, but he knocked something over against my bookshelf, and this guy was on top of the bookshelf. He fell, and his leg just shattered. So I haven't had this mold since 2010. I got the MP. So after that, I just didn't collect the Masterpiece line at all until like 2014, 2015, I want to say, was when I got full into the Masterpiece line. The first one I bought was Sideswipe, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So I've now been on, ever since then, I've been on completionist mode. And I'm, for the most part, mold-wise, I'm caught up. The only mold I'm missing is the original MP-1 Starscream mold and the Optimus Prime mold. I have every other mold. I don't have all like the various repaints. Like I don't have Skywarp Thundercracker. I don't have Red Alert. I don't have Grapple. I don't have Sound Blaster. Like some of those like random repaints I don't have. But for the most part, for the molds, I do. The only repaints I really want are like Red Alert and Thundercracker and Skywarp. But it's neither here nor there. Before we continue, we'll talk about his accessories. So, Ion Blaster, which looks really good. And he can hold it. A little loosely, but he can hold it. This is usually the weapon I keep him with. I don't really give him the axe. Let's talk about the Megatron gun. That broke the minute I took it out of the box. As soon as I took it out of the box, that broke off. All those pieces do come off, though, which is kind of cool. And if you fold his hand back in, you can give him the axe. Which looks pretty good. It's not a bad axe. I just typically don't pose my primes with the axe. He only used it once, so but you know, it is what it is. He comes with it, so you can use it if you want to. Now, if you're collecting the Masterpiece line, like current Masterpiece line, he is not going to fit at all. He is completely out of scale with everything except the MP-05 Megatron. There are 2 other Optimus Primes that are better figures than this. And the only one that really fits in to the current Masterpiece aesthetic is the MP-44. So if you're collecting the Masterpiece line currently for display purpose, he's not really going to fit in. As a figure itself, though, he's a very solid figure. Just as a figure, he's good. He's really good. He just doesn't fit with the current Masterpiece aesthetic. If you're like me and you want every mold, yeah, you should probably grab him. If you don't have him already, if you're a Transformers fan, I'd be surprised if you didn't have this mold by now. He doesn't go for too much on eBay. The Japanese version does. Don't get me wrong, the Japanese version does. But the American re-releases, this only cost me about $110. Complete in-box, never opened. So it wasn't, that's the whole reason I jumped on it, was I found it for such a good price. If you're going to get a Masterpiece Prime, I wouldn't recommend this one. Because he kind of looks like an older war veteran Optimus Prime, which is kind of a cool thing. Like, I like the aesthetic. I think he looks cool. But if you're looking for a G1, an Optimus Prime, it looks like it came out of the cartoon. Masterpiece 44 is the one you want to go with. That's the most show accurate, the most pulsable, the hardest transformation, and the most expensive. But an MP-10 is like a hybrid between realistic proportioned robot and the cartoon. So, but this is a good figure. Don't get me wrong. I am not trying to be negative about it. I think he's a solid toy. And especially if you're an Optimus Prime fan, like I am, he's worth getting to complete not only Optimus Prime collection, but to complete the Masterpiece collection. He was the first in the Masterpiece line. He's kind of the reason this whole Masterpiece line I love exists. So I can't really knock him too much, even if there are better Masterpiece figures out there nowadays. But that's going to be it today. From me to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Take care. Peace.